Well, Miranda Kerr's mum has teamed up with Hollywood star Sean Penn for a very important cause. Therese Kerr is backing a new film he's made about deadly chemicals in our food. Here's a sneak peek.
Maybe we should know about the environmental chemicals before people are exposed, because if you don't, we will end up having to study it in humans.
I was diagnosed at 37 with invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 2. My cancer wanted to move.
We went in just to my OB-GYN and she diagnosed me with polycystic ovarian syndrome. They have no idea why I have it and I haven't been able to get pregnant. We've been trying for about three years now almost. There's many, many chemicals that we're all exposed to that have been linked to reproductive problems and infertility. Obviously it makes me think, well, hello. You know, we surround ourselves by these things.
I have a 12-year-old brother who's significantly impacted by autism.
Do chemicals cause autism?
Well, that's the question of the hour, isn't it?
Therese Kerr joins us live right here on the Studio 10 couch. We will talk to her on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Well, before the break, we had a quick look at a new Sean Penn film about chemical nasties in our food. Miranda Kerr's mum, Therese, is supporting it here in Australia, and she joins us on the Studio 10 couch now. Along with RMIT Professor Marc Cohen. A big welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Well, we'll start with you first. Talk to us about the film. It's called The Human Experiment.
Yes, and it's an amazing, eye-opening film. I'm so blessed that Danielle Shirley and David Shirley of Naturally Home this is the only country that is now screening this. We're the only country that has secured the rights to screen this documentary around the world, other than America. And what the film does, it actually identifies chemicals in foods, in our everyday products, shampoos, conditioners, personal care, skin care, beauty care products, and the impact on our lives. And there are so many impacts. The endocrine disrupting chemicals that are now causing endometriosis, fibroids, polycystic ovarian syndrome, infertility. This identifies the link between all of those things and these disorders.
So how then are those chemicals getting into our food, into our skincare, into basically everything, I suppose, in our everyday life?
They are, unfortunately they are, and the only reason, the only way you can buy products that don't contain those are when you buy certified organic, and that's as nature intended them to be. Unfortunately, there are so many chemicals. There's around 80,000 chemicals now being used in our everyday lives, and the EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group, states that only 13% of the chemicals have ever been tested for safety, yet they are in our everyday products. Marc will certainly share some of the impact. Marc's a professor from the RMIT University, and he will share some of the impacts of these in a greater sense than what I will. I just see it every day, people coming to me. Everyone knows people with endometriosis, with the endocrine disrupting disorders, and it's so important, especially as mums, that we actually take control before we have children.
We're aware of it. Let's bring in Professor Cohen now on that note. Professor, what chemicals are we actually talking about here, and how widespread are they?
Well, there's two general classes of chemicals. There's the fat-soluble ones that stay in our bodies for a long, long time because we don't really excrete fat. And then there's the water-soluble ones, which we can excrete easily in our urine, but we take in all the time. And it ranges from pesticides to plastics to a lot of the consumer products we use, fire retardants. There's an incredible 80,000 chemicals that are produced commercially that we buy and take into our homes and consume and don't actually realise the impact. And I think one of the important things to realise, it used to be thought that the dose makes the poison. But now we know that there are 5 things. It's the type of chemical, it's the dose, it's the combination, it's the timing, and it's the individual that all interact to make the poison. And we really don't account for all of those things in our regulations.
And Professor, what sort of diseases do these chemicals cause?
Well, we're still understanding it. The World Health Organization came out with a state-of-the-art document a couple of years ago, and they suggest things like, it's really the epidemic of diseases we're seeing in society. So obesity, diabetes, cancers, infertility, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and learning disabilities in children, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease. There's a whole spectrum of human disorders, and we know that the youngest are the most vulnerable. So it's our children and the unborn children who actually are the most susceptible to these effects.
And Marc, if we are eating more dangerous chemicals than we have been in the past, why is it that people are living longer than they ever have before, and we're not just all sort of dropping dead, if you like, earlier? Aren't we not healthier than we've ever been, or is that a myth as well?
Well, it is a bit of a myth. I mean, just this year, cancer has now overtaken heart disease as the biggest killer on the planet and the biggest killer in Australia. And we've seen this pandemic. They called about a pandemic of neurodevelopmental problems in children. So hundreds of times increases in things like autism and ADHD. So, you know, we're changing the spectrum of human disease by our exposure to a whole range of chemicals. And really, it's everyday decisions that we make that can influence, to a larger extent, how much we're exposed.
Because you wonder how much you have to avoid them, because, you know, everything we use has chemicals in them, and I'm a bit frightened now. How do you avoid the really, you know, the dangerous stuff?
Well, we've just done some research that says even just 1 week of eating organic food can reduce your pesticide exposure by about 90%. So this is just, you know, choosing organic food for a week. Your body naturally detoxifies these water-soluble chemicals in your urine, and there's a 90% reduction after a week. There's many other decisions.
Excuse me interrupting you, Professor, but is there data that backs up what you're saying? Is there data that says these chemicals are actually the cause of autism or, you know, the other diseases, you know, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's? Where is the evidence?
Well, this is the, you can refer to the World Health Organization state-of-the-art document on endocrine disrupting chemicals, which documents a lot of the evidence. And actually what they concluded in that document, which looked at literally hundreds, if not thousands of studies, they actually said that the current findings might be the tip of the iceberg. However, it's very, very hard to understand like a direct causal link from one single chemical to an issue, to a health issue, because it's not just one chemical at a time. As I say, it's not just the dose, it's the combination of chemicals we're exposed to, it's the timing of when you're exposed, and it's your individual susceptibility. We all have different genetic ability to detoxify. We all have different ability to handle chemical loads, and we all have different medical conditions and other chemicals we're exposed to that interact. So it's a very, very complex situation, rather than just saying at this dose there's an effect and below that dose there's no effect.
Very complex, and a lot more complex than a 4-minute segment can handle. Professor and Therese, thank you very, very much for joining us. Looks like a great, interesting movie. It's called The Human Experiment, and it's touring Australian cinemas now. The dates are on your screen. We'll also have them on our website as well, so if you can't grab a pen in time. All right, we will have the best goss straight out of Hollywood when Ange opens up the showbiz file right after the break. Don't go anywhere.